Days like yesterday are a whole lot of fun as we made money in soccer, NBA, and the dogs were barking. What's going on, my people? Welcome on into the Thursday edition here of Winning Bets. I'm, of course, Jason Mattis, giving you guys those free sports picks every single day. How's your Thursday morning going? You guys are almost at the weekend? Almost there. Just a couple more days going. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day. You should be feeling damn good today because we had a whole lot of fun yesterday making all the money. So you should definitely be feeling. We should have sprung up out of bed and said, oh yeah, what's that? That's money in my pockets, because that's what I got right there. Again, that was a lot of fun yesterday. All started off with soccer. We may have only gone 5-5 in soccer, but every bet I gave you guys outside of that Byron bet was a plus money bet. So that's how we were able to put a lot of money in your pocket. I don't want to talk about all these bets because we got a lot to talk about here on today's show in terms of recap wise, but let's talk about a couple of them. How about Origi and Minamino? Those were the two bets I gave you guys on yesterday's YouTube show. Both of them got cashes, just like they did in the previous round of the EFL Cup. They came right back yesterday and got goals up against Preston. They were the only two goals that Liverpool got. I love that we jumped on that early, got the good value before those lineups came out and those odds got worse for us. We were able to predict that Origi and Minamino was going to be in that starting lineup, and they banged goals. We've now made in those two rounds, because you guys remember Minamino last round was at plus 200 when Origi I think was at plus 190. We've put like 7 units or so up in our pocket for these two guys in the previous round. So I can't wait for the next round of the EFL Cup, because you know these guys will be in that starting lineup again, because Liverpool is still going to be in the Champions League. More than likely, I assume they're still in the FA Cup. I can't quite remember, but I assume they're still in that FA Cup. Either way, they're still in that Champions League. These guys will be the strikers in the EFL Cup. So whenever that next round is, we'll obviously be looking to play Origi and Minamino again for sure. And then the other bet here we're talking about here from our soccer recap there is Manchester City. Oh man, if they would have gotten a goal there in obviously the 90 minutes of regulation, we would have won our Liverpool City moneyline parlay, and also Spurs, Liverpool, and Manchester City all to advance. Those two bets were, of course, at plus money. So we are one Manchester City goal away. We still won over 2 units, and I think that's really outstanding. Obviously, we had a terrible day Tuesday in the EFL Cup. I don't think I've ever given out 5 soccer bets and lose all 5. I don't think I've ever done that. I mean, I usually pretty dialed in on soccer, so to go 0-5 on Tuesday was extremely rare. So me, from a personal standpoint, I was extremely happy, to bounce back on a good day in soccer. Again, went up over 2 units, but boy, if we just got a Manchester City goal, we could have won 5, I think, 5 plus units right there. Probably 6 units right there. I think it would have been a little bit higher. Either way, it would have been massive amounts of units. City would have gotten a goal. And they almost had one late. They took a corner short. De Bruyne played to Shevchenko. Shevchenko immediately give it right back to De Bruyne, and De Bruyne whipped it in. And I can't remember who had the header glance off their head, but it was a reaction save by the goalkeeper. Pure reaction. Good job by that goalkeeper. Unlucky for us, though, because, man, if that would have found the back of the net again, we would have had a monster day. But we did good right there. We got 2 anytime goal scores. Liverpool game through, scoring 2+. City kept a clean sheet in that game. You do not score on City. I don't care if it's the B squad and Nathaniel Ake is one of the center backs and they're starting Stefan in goal. You do not score on City because you only get a couple of chances against City. And it's hard to be clinical in those couple of chances. I mean, soccer is generally a low-scoring game to begin with. You only get a couple opportunities. Love taking City on that clean sheet. And then, of course, Stoke, Brentford up over 2.5. Both teams will score as a good cash. So, yeah, good day in soccer right there, putting a couple units up in our pocket. We were able to carry that right on into our NBA player props. I gave you all these bets on yesterday's show. How about CJ McCollum? He cashed both of those bets for us yesterday. We continue to push the right buttons on CJ McCollum, just like we did last season. We're now 4-0 this season on betting CJ McCollum, as he went up over 3.5 three-pointers. He had 4 in that game. And he went up over 23.5 points as he had 25 in that game in that Blazers win. So he's the guy. I mean, just look at the stats. At least in this season, I know they've got Dom, but Lillard is taking the most shots. He's getting the most points. He's getting the most productivity. Can't wait to whenever the hell the Blazers play again, as we'll certainly ride CJ McCollum in some fashion whenever that next game is. Blake Griffin under 7.5 points. Who rode that one with me? That one was sweaty. He had 6 points at halftime. And I've watched the whole second half, at least in terms of my phone and watching ESPN Gamecast, watched that whole game second half wise right there. because I was nervous. I was nervous, but also confident, because you saw this script play out last season when we got a whole bunch of cashing Blake Griffin unders. Is he may have a little bit of production, but he's not a guy that they look for on any set. He's just a guy that kind of, gets a rebound and gets a bucket, or maybe they do, maybe somebody sets him up with a nice pass, but he's just not an option on that team. Wasn't an option when he was on the Pistons team right there. And yesterday, and watching that whole game again via the Gamecast, not actually watching the game, he sat the entire fourth quarter. So now we get great insight into what the Nets do. In a close game, they're going to bench Blake Griffin in a close game in the fourth quarter. He didn't play 1 minute in the fourth quarter. I was sitting there watching my phone being like, every time they'd call a timeout, be like, oh, please, God, don't put in Blake Griffin, don't put in Blake Griffin. And he wouldn't go in that game. So we got a nice piece of information. When we take these Blake Griffin unders, as long as the Nets are in a close battle, we're basically betting on three quarters, because they didn't play him at all yesterday. So that was great right there. And then, of course, we got Robert Covington under 7.5 points. Again, a player that we cashed a ton last season. He ended up with 3 points last night. Again, not a guy that's a big focal point in that Blazers offense. We'll be fading him damn near every game going forward as well. I mean, no reason not to. So good ones right there. And our only trip of the day was Hayward. He went up over his 3-point total, but Edwards did not. No fault to Edwards in terms of lack of effort. He put up 10 3-pointers. Unfortunately, only made 2 of them. But again, we made multiple units betting NBA player props. So just another outstanding night right there in NBA player props. So overall, what does that do for us right there? Obviously, we had the Braves money line. That went ahead, and that was a loser right there. Astros stuck it to the Braves, and they went ahead and got a nice, good 7-2 win. So we lost our Braves money line. But you can see right there, the dogs were barking last night. NHL dogs came through. May have only gone 3-2, but put over multiple units up in our pocket. And the big one was obviously the NBA going 7-3 and putting over 13 units up in our pocket. You had the Thunder win that game. They were, I think, at like plus 360. You had the Timberwolves. They were, I think, at plus 200, something like that. The Heat were at plus 188. Then you had the Kings late night beat the Suns. They were, I think, at like plus 205. And then you also had, there was another one late last night. Who was it? There was another one, because I went to bed and there were only 5 dogs that had cash, and I woke up, there were 7 dogs. It was the Kings late night and somebody else. Whoever it was, that was another. Oh, the Cavaliers. The Cavaliers up against whoever. They were up with the Clippers, and they were like plus 260. So, boy, all the NBA dogs are barking last night. So, certainly good to see that. We needed that, and we expect that. That's the way these NBA dogs were performing last season. So, it was nice to see them have their first real good night in the NBA. So, when you add it all, when you add up the soccer, you add up the NBA player props, you subtract a little bit there from the baseball money line, and you add those dogs. Yesterday, we put 20.33 units up in your pocket. Now, up on the week at plus 9.37 units. That's what I'm talking about right there. Go ahead and hit that like button if you're partying in that. I know you guys maybe not have been part of those dogs, although you guys keep hitting me up on Twitter. There are more people tailing those dog bets than I talk about here on YouTube, because a couple of those guys hit me up on those Twitter DMs. You guys were equally as fired up as me when those dogs were kept cashing last night and we were getting those big cashes. So there's more out there than I lead on here on YouTube that are doing that blind bet with me. So anyways, but if you were part of any of those, if you're part of those soccer cashes, if you're part of those NBA props, if all you did was tail CJ McCollum on those 2 props and put that money up in your pocket, go ahead and hit that like button. All right, it's time to get on into the action today. It's a slow day in sports. There's no soccer going on today, relatively speaking, to talk about at least. And in the NBA, like I said, I like to give it 2 weeks. Some of these teams have only played 4 games, and I just don't think that's enough data to go off of. If this same scenario happens next week, we'll have NBA bets, whether it's against the spread or some team totals or some over-unders. Same sort of things we did last season throughout the NBA, but I just don't feel confident firing off those bets off 3, 4, 5 games worth of data. So next week, if we're in the same scenario, we'll have more bets. Otherwise, today is going to be relatively slow. All we really got is Thursday night football going on. You got the Packers going on against the Cardinals. Obviously, we already broke this game down as our quest to win $25,000 over on the Fox Bet Super 6 app. There's one prop bet I like. I like Kyler Murray to have over 25.5 rushing yards at minus 114 up over at FanDuel. The Packers allow 34 yards per game to the quarterback position. You just saw what Tyler Heineke was able to do last week there against the Packers. I think the Cardinals will call a similar play where they almost just send a go route and almost will just send every receiver down, clear out the middle, just like Tyler Heineke was able to take advantage, but let Kyler Murray take advantage, and he'll rip off a big 20, 30-yard run with his speed and athleticism right there. They're going to call some design runs for him, so I absolutely love him getting up over 25.5 rushing yards. And also the Packers are dead last at 5.5 yards per carry allowed, and they're 30th in the league in yards at 146. So the Cardinals They've had a lot of passing success, obviously, so far this season, but this should be a game where they run the ball. They run the ball heavy. I couldn't quite decide between the two running backs, between Edmonds and Connors, because their snap counts has really been kind of wonky the last few weeks when you look at it. Who's been getting the majority of the carries has really been wonky. So I just didn't feel confident. So just give me Kyler Murray. I think obviously he'll be scrambling on a few plays. Pass plays obviously break down, but they're going to call some design runs. When they look at that film and they look at the success that Tyler Heineke run, just wait. You'll see one night they're going to run all go routes on their receivers and watch Kyler Murray streak down the middle of the field. That's going to be fun to watch as we sit there and cash that bet. So that's the only one I really like from there. And then the other one I tweeted out the other day on Twitter right there. I'm going Cardinals -6 at +103. I know this line right now is at 6.5. You're not going to have to pay a lot of juice to get it down to 6, but do yourself a favor and get it back down to juice, or get it back down to 6. Pay a little bit of juice. This game's going to be wonky, guys. I mean, so many COVID issues there for the Packers. That's why I don't have a lot of bets for Thursday Night Football, because if this was a normal week and there's no real COVID issues, I think you can predict the game script. But that's what makes me nervous, is you can't predict the game script, because if you look at the stats, it would suggest that the Packers shouldn't be running on the Cardinals. I mean, the Cardinals are one of the top teams in terms of yards per carry and also yards per game. They only allow like 89 yards per game. They're one of the top units in a rush defense. So you would think that the Packers would be throw heavy. But he doesn't have Devontae Adams. He doesn't have Lazard. He's got guys that he's going to be used to throwing to, but not guys he used to be throwing to in the number 1 and number 2 wide receiver position. He lost his 2 top wide receivers. Those other guys have to be elevated. Now they're going up against better cornerbacks that they're not usually, in terms of competition, that they're not used to favor. So I don't know. Normally we try and sit here in this chair and we try and predict the game script to the best of our abilities, and I don't know if I can fully do that tonight given the Packers' issues. So because of that, yeah, I'm not going to go all gun-ho and try and predict a game that I think is a little bit unpredictable. I'm not going to be too surprised if the Packers are pass heavy. I think that's what they should do, but maybe they'll be leaning more on Aaron Rodgers in terms of whether that's in the run game, or maybe they'll be leaning on him, in the passing game. I don't know. I don't feel comfortable. I wish this game wasn't marred by COVID. We got our ass, depending on how long you've been betting on sports, last season at times was tough. Betting because of COVID. Didn't matter if it was basketball or football. It was tough because of COVID. No reason to get cleaned out. We've got a whole weekend of Premier League bets we're going to get in. Probably get in a couple NASCAR bets. And then we'll obviously have our Sunday NFL slate of bets. So no reason to reach and force bets tonight. We'll have plenty of action this weekend. We can kind of just sit back. We got this nice Kyler Murray prop. Hopefully the Cardinals can cover -6. And then we'll see what else happens. I like actually Aaron Rodgers throwing an interception. And you can get that at +160 over DraftKings. I'm like this close to throwing that. Because again, he's throwing to wide receivers that while he throws to them, he doesn't throw to them on a more regular basis. He's losing his 2 top weapons. That chemistry is going to be off a little bit with these other guys, Randall Cobb and company right there. It's going to be off. I kind of like Aaron Rodgers throwing an interception at +160. He doesn't throw a lot of interceptions, but I kind of like that. I'm not going to pull the trigger on it more than likely. I wish these NHL and NBA dogs were earlier on the day and I kind of knew what maybe profit I would or would not have. And if I had a fair amount of profit from NHL and NBA dogs, I would bet Aaron Rodgers to have an interception. It's more of a gut play. Like I said, he doesn't throw a ton, obviously, over his career and from season to season and game to game. He doesn't throw a lot, but something just tells me Aaron Rodgers is going to throw an interception. The one bet I am going to wait for, and I'm waiting for the sports books to give us that number, is there one NBA player that we cashed last season, already got a cash this season. It's Clint Capella. They're going up against the Wizards. They don't have a strong center position. In fact, their center was hurt the other day, or maybe it was last night. He was hurt, and he's set for an MRI on his quad. So now Clint Capella is going to be going up against that second-string center. It is Montrezl Harrell. Not bad, but even if the whole depth chart moves up one. So I actually like Clint Capella tonight, but the sportsbooks haven't given us a number. So that's the one NBA player prop I'm looking to pull the trigger on once we get the number and we can see what it is. So make sure you follow me on Twitter to see if I go ahead and lock in on Clint Capella. Otherwise, it's going to be Cardinals -6 tonight and Kyler Murray up over 25.5 yards. And then come back on tomorrow's show. We'll roll out the weekend slate of bets. Again, we've got Premier League in action this weekend. We've got NASCAR, and we've got Sunday NFL. All right, guys, that's Thursday's show. Go enjoy your Thursday, and we'll see you back here tomorrow. Thanks for watching till the end. I'm Jason Mattis. Any love you can show by giving me a like, a subscription, or a comment, or even just share this video is very much appreciated. And don't forget to turn on your notifications to increase your chances of locking in the same odds as I talked about today. And check out my other great videos in these corners.